Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into this whirlwind of developments happening in India right now. We're talking massive infrastructure projects, historic energy shifts, and bold new policies that are all happening at once. So let's connect the dots. So, what does a nation's ambition actually look like? I mean, how do you measure it? Well, one way is to just look at the sheer scale of what's happening. The numbers here are staggering. So let's get a feel for the momentum with a few key figures. Okay, first up, 1 lakh crore rupees. Now, to put that in perspective, that's roughly 12 billion US dollars. And this is the size of a brand new fund just approved to basically supercharge urban infrastructure projects all across the country. We're going to unpack how that works in just a minute. Then there's this number, over 52,000 megawatts. I mean, that is a record-breaking amount of power generation capacity that India added in just the first 10 months of the fiscal year. That is a huge, huge leap forward on the energy front. And finally, this one, over 18,000 crore rupees, which is about $2.2 billion. This is the investment that just got the green light to expand the national railway network, a critical artery for the whole country's economy. So yeah, these numbers, they really set the stage for a nation that is absolutely on the move. So to make sense of all this, we've kind of broken it down into 4 key themes. We'll start with the physical foundations, then we'll look at the energy and innovation that's powering everything, then the digital networks connecting it all, and finally, we'll talk about the people who are driving all this progress. All right, first up, building tomorrow's India. Think of these as the foundational projects. The literal concrete, steel, and financial structures that are going to serve as the bedrock for, decades of growth to come. Okay, so let's dig into that massive urban fund. The real genius here isn't just the amount of money. It's the mechanism. It's not just the government handing out checks. It's a challenge fund. It actually forces cities to get creative because they have to raise half the project costs themselves from private sources like municipal bonds. So what this does is it builds not just roads and bridges, but it also builds long-term financial independence for India's cities. It's a really smart model. And that huge railway investment is not just for some single flashy project. No, it's way more strategic than that. It's being spread out to clear up bottlenecks on these really key economic corridors all over the country, connecting the capital with Haryana, boosting industry out in Maharashtra, strengthening the networks done in Karnataka. The whole point is to get goods and people moving way, way more efficiently. And this push is happening in literally every corner of the country. Just look at the northeast state of Assam. A single initiative there kicked off projects worth over $500 million. And it's a perfect example of this integrated strategy. You've got a new bridge that slashes travel times, a data center for the digital age, a campus for a top business school, and electric buses for green mobility. It's physical, digital, and green infrastructure. The whole shebang all rolled into one. This whole transformation isn't just about building new stuff. It's also about modernizing the very seat of power. In a move that's both super symbolic and really practical, key ministries are actually moving out of these iconic colonial-era buildings. It's a clear signal, a break with the past, and a real shift towards a more efficient, centralized, modern system of government. Okay, so that's the foundation. Let's move on to our second theme, fueling innovation and energy. This is the engine that's going to power all this new infrastructure. Because you can build all you want, right? But you've got to have the power and the ideas to make it all run. Okay, what you're looking at here, this is a monumental tipping point. For the very first time in its history, India's installed power capacity from non-fossil fuel sources, we're talking solar, wind, hydro, has officially surpassed its fossil fuel capacity. Let that sink in. Yeah, this is a huge milestone in the country's move to green energy, a staggering 75%. 3/4 of all the new power capacity added this past year came from renewables, and solar is just leading the charge. This isn't just some small incremental change. It's a historic shift. So to fuel the next wave of growth, the really deep tech stuff, a new 2,000 crore rupee fund has been launched. And it uses this really interesting system called the Technology Readiness Level, or TRL scale. Basically, it allows the fund to provide long-term patient money for those high-risk, high-reward projects in areas like AI and biotech. It helps guide them all the way from just a prototype in a lab to a real commercial product. And get this, that deep tech fund is perfectly complemented by this, a 10,000 crore rupee fund of funds. You see how it works? They're creating a complete pipeline. One fund nurtures that high-risk invention in the lab, and this one makes sure there's venture capital ready and waiting to scale it into a successful company. It's a full-stack approach, building an innovation ecosystem from the ground up. It's brilliant. And this kind of ambition isn't just happening at the national level. Check out what the state of Kerala is doing. They have laid out this incredibly clear, four-step strategy to become a global hub for graphene, which is this revolutionary new material. They've approved a policy, they're offering major financial incentives, they're building a dedicated innovation center, and they're forging partnerships with top global universities like Oxford and Manchester. It is a masterclass in strategic execution. Okay, so we've got the physical foundation, we've got the innovation engine. Now for our third theme, the digital nervous system that connects it all together and really brings it into the 21st century. And a huge piece of that digital puzzle is this new undersea fiber optic cable called SING. The best way to think about it is like a new digital superhighway being laid right on the ocean floor. It's creating this super high-capacity data link between India and key hubs in the Middle East and Southeast Asia. This thing is purpose-built to handle the absolute tidal wave of data we're going to see from global AI and cloud computing over the next decade. And that digital connectivity? It's having a direct impact right on the ground. For the very first time, India has launched a public food distribution system using its new digital currency, the e-rupee. Now, the old system, it was famous for fraud and things leaking out. But the new one uses transparent digital coupons. It makes the whole process direct, verifiable, and just a whole lot more secure. And this network even extends up into space. In another first, a private Indian satellite company, Galaxy, has partnered up with the government's commercial space arm. What this does is it basically democratizes access to advanced satellite imagery. It puts this incredibly powerful data right into the hands of sectors like agriculture and disaster management. All right, so for our final section, let's bring this all back to the people. Our fourth theme, People and Progress, looks at the governance, the leadership, and the real social impact behind all these headlines. You know, to drive this kind of change, you need strong leadership, and this is a really significant move. Uday Kotak, the legendary founder of Kotak Mahindra Bank, has just been appointed chairman of GIFT City, which is India's ambitious new financial hub. Putting a respected powerhouse industry veteran at the helm like that, it sends a powerful signal of serious intent to the entire global financial community. It really underscores the ambition behind these projects. And looking ahead, this quote really points to where all of this is going. This isn't just some theory, right? A major bank, DBS, recently piloted payments made not by people, but by AI agents. This is the next frontier. It's where all the pieces we've just talked about, from digital currency to those global data highways, all converge into a future where commerce itself is automated. So when you step back and look at it all, from a historic shift to green energy, to a complete overhaul of urban and digital infrastructure, in a really strategic push into deep tech, the building blocks for a transformed India are clearly being put into place. And it leaves you with this one big question. Which of these powerful forces is going to be the one that truly defines the nation's next decade?